Okay, it's the 4th of July weekend. My project for today is to fix a Gaggia Titanium with a leaky steam valve. I do this a couple of times a year, and I've seen videos on YouTube how to replace the valve, which is very useful. But really, it's not needed to. You don't really need to replace the valve. All you need to do is replace a small O-ring, which costs just a few pennies if you buy them in bulk. This is what I found, the closest match to the spec. I went to the parts catalog and look at what the spec of the O-ring. They're very hard to find as a replacement for the O-ring, but what I found is this. They have to be in EPDM material, which is heat resistant, high heat resistant. What I found is from US Sealing. You can buy a bag for a couple of dollars, and this will last you probably the lifetime of the machine. It's not an exact fit, it's a little thicker, and that means the valve will drag a little bit, but I will use some silicone grease to help with that. Also, I should point out this is not food grade. I could not find anything food grade. So let's see how to do it. First thing you want to do is empty the bean hopper. Now you see mine is already empty. What I do is typically take a spoon out whatever I can, and then run the machine a few times, get a few coffees out until it's completely empty. You want to do this, otherwise the bean will fall inside the machine once you remove the top. The next step, I'm going to remove this. And actually this is not really needed, but it's going to make it easier if you remove the ground coffee bean hopper. It's going to make it a little easier. So you take out those two screws here on each side. Mine is a bit rusty. Completely. Okay, and once you've done that, just pull up and the bean hopper will come off. Be careful, there's a gasket, rubber gasket here. Occasionally it comes off with the bean hopper, with the ground hopper, and just make sure you don't lose it. It's and we're trying to get access to the steam valve, which is right under here. So what we're going to do is remove the top of the machine. Next thing you want to do is take the water tank out and unplug the machine, just for safety. Just unplug it. In the back of the machine there are two screws that hold the top. One is here. Let's get those out, and the other one is right here, and we'll get that out too, and I will resume in a few seconds the video. Okay, screws are out. Just take them out, put them in a place. The lid of the bean hopper is a perfect place to put screws so you don't lose them. Okay, just take a close look at them. These are longer ones. The bean hopper are machine screws, shorter machine screws. I mean the ground coffee hopper chute. And now all you need to do is pull right up and then a little to the back, very gently, because there are 3 connections at the bottom. Also make sure you don't move any of the grinder settings, because it will have to go back the same way. If you move any of the grinder settings, then you will have to reset the grinder, which is a rather lengthy procedure. You probably don't want to do it. Now what we're going to do is disconnect all these connections. These 2 connections, you see I marked them to make sure I was reconnecting the same cable, but they're just going to the resistance for warming up the cups. So really it's not that important that you mark them. I did it the first time because I wasn't sure what they were for. Now I'm gonna disconnect and resume the video after removing the lid completely. Okay, now the lid is completely disconnected. I'm gonna remove it, set it aside. Somewhere, now you can see here, this is the steam valve. What we want to do is gain access to it. It's a little easier if you remove also the screw that holds the side panel and the front panel together. It's not strictly necessary, but it gives you a little bit more room to wiggle inside. Next thing you want to do is remove the clip here with a screwdriver. Go under the clip and go gently up to make sure it doesn't fly away. Just very gently put your finger on top so it doesn't fly away, and here it is. It's the clip. I'm going to put it away somewhere. It's the clip that holds this hose here, steam hose, and then gently pull it out. Be careful, there are two O-rings inside. You may see, yep, you see they're silicone O-ring, they're the red brown color. Next thing you want to do is remove the valve cover, plastic cover. Just pull towards the back and up, and it will come out. And next thing you want to do is unhook the valve from the knob. Again, it's useful if you keep the knob in position. It's not strictly necessary because it's easy to put in, but you just want to gently pry apart. And the valve will come out. Just push it out there to the side and then wiggle it out. It's easier if you do it with two hands. And that's the valve. Now you see the O-ring there. Make sure it doesn't get lost. You don't need to disconnect this hose. I've seen some YouTube videos. If you need to replace the whole valve, then you will need to replace this hose. But if you have a metal valve with a metal cover, typically what happens, the O-ring inside is worn out, and what you need to do is press down on the pin here so that the plastic part of the valve can slide out. And you can press down with a flathead screwdriver while at the same time pulling out the plastic body, pulling the plastic body apart from the metal body. I'm going to turn the video off because I need two hands to do that, and then I'll resume the video once it's out. Okay, here we go. So now I push the pin down. You see the pin is pressed under the metal housing, and I'm sliding the plastic component of the valve out. And you see here there's a black O-ring on top of the steam valve body, and this is what typically gets worn out by moving the valve inside the metal body. This movement eventually will wear it out, and if you look at it, it's probably flattened out. Now I'm gonna take it out, and you can use a knife. I happen to have a hook for removing O-rings, so what I'm gonna do is just slide it under and pull it out. Okay, I've taken out the old O-ring. I gave it a good cleanup there, and I lubed it with food grade silicone grease. In this case I have the coffee machine grease from Saeco that I bought some time ago. You can use any food grade silicone grease. What I'm going to do is slide the new O-ring back on and then add some more silicone grease on it, because like I said, this is not a perfect fit. It's a little bit thicker than the original one, so it needs a little bit of silicone grease to slide while inside the valve. The valve will bind a little bit, but it works just fine. And if you can find anything that works better, please leave a comment in the messages below here, and I would like to know if there's anything else that fits better. I'm going to turn the video off while I put the O-ring on. Now you see I have the new O-ring, and I put a dab of silicone grease on top and just a little bit, and then I'll spread it around before I reassemble everything. Okay, now it's ready. All that is needed is to reassemble everything and make sure everything fits back in. So I'm going to reassemble the steam valve by pushing it in and pressing the pin down. And I need 2 hands for that, so I'm going to stop the video again until I have it all back in. Okay, the steam valve is reassembled. Now we put it back in place and reconnect it to the knob. Just again wiggle it in, push it in all the way, and then down here gently pry the knob and the valve apart until they fall back into place. There we go. And you need to make sure that the keys, let's see, the valve has plastic keys, they fall out into the slots of the knob. What I typically do is just turn the knob all the way and back, just to make sure you have in the correct position. Once you turn all the knob all the way on the counterclockwise, this plastic piece should be upright. Now you just put everything back together and you're done. It takes me about 20 minutes to do it, now that I've done it a few times. One thing you need to be careful, which I often forget to do, is to put the plastic cover for the valve back on. Now I've taken mine a few times out, so now it's easier to put it back on. The first time it was a little bit a challenge. Now mine has become a little loose. And you put the steam hose back in, push it back in all the way. And put the clip back. So that it doesn't come out. After you're done, just make sure the cover is back on properly. And now you can see that when I turn the valve, the micro switch here is activated in the open position. And that's pretty much it. All that is needed to do is put the lid back on and use the machine. I'm gonna stop the video because I need 2 hands to put the lid back on, and then I'll resume once it's all done. Again, there's the green connection here that goes to the tab over here, and then the other two wires. Just some caution when you close, make sure you route the wires away from the grinder. They have the habit of getting right in the middle. So once you have it down, it should slide just right in if you didn't move the if you didn't move the grinder settings, it should slide just right in. Next, one thing you want to do is look up here, look at where the wires are running, and if like it's happening right now, they're in the middle of the grinder, just slide your hand in and move them away. Okay, just like so. Now you see I move them away from the, move them out of the way. So now we're good. We're ready to close. A little bit of misalignment on this side, so we'll just put it back so that it closes properly. Oopsie. Oh, I didn't realize I forgot to put the screw here on the side panel, so let me do it again. Let me do that before I close everything up. Yeah, I'm gonna pause the video for a second. Okay, close the side panel, screw up the side panel and front panel together. Be very careful with this one, because if it falls down there where all the rest of the mechanism is, it's really hard to fish it out, and you can imagine how I know this. Okay, this is done. Let me put back the lid and check the wires again. Aligned. Let's check out the wires in the way. No, they're not in the way. We're good. We close the back as well. It's a lot easier with two hands. Okay, I'm gonna pause a second. I need two hands. So one more thing I want to mention is if by any chance your back panel doesn't go into place, check out there's these two alignment pins that go inside the grinder. If you pull the back panel back, those two pins may have come out, and so just make sure they're realigned and they go inside the grinder before you put your lid back on. Okay, now all you have to do is put the screws in the back, here and here. Put the chute for the ground coffee back in, screw it, put the water tank back in, replug the machine, and everything should be working.